Insurance demand within the cannabis industry is poised to follow this market's favorable revenue growth projections, but conflicting state and federal laws still pose a hurdle for standard insurers looking to enter the segment. A new Best special report discusses how federal legislation could remove major obstacles that have left large insurers on the outside of this nascent market. I'm John Weber for AM Best TV. Here to discuss these details are Associate Director David Blades and Senior Industry Research Analyst Christopher Graham. And David, we're going to start with you. What's the main conflict here between federal laws and state-level legalization efforts?
Well, John, with more than 2/3 of the states across the U.S. having legalized cannabis for either recreational or medicinal use, it's still a Schedule I drug, meaning it's illegal from a federal or under federal law. So that dichotomy, basically what that creates is it puts on a state-by-state basis, the states are developing their own guidelines for the governance of cannabis from their own individual standpoints. And so from that perspective, you create a very fractured market from that perspective. In addition, the illegal status from a federal standpoint also creates, when you're talking about interstate commerce, the importing and exporting of cannabis products from one state to another is also illegal, even when you're dealing with states, two states where it's legalized to some capacity in those states. So again, the federal status, the Schedule I, drug status, that's really limiting the potential and the openness for the market overall, and that's limiting the capacity for insurance carriers to really come to the plate with the insurance products that they really want to generate for the overall marketplace. Now, in terms of legislation looking at legalizing cannabis, there hasn't really been any law that's really gotten momentum in terms of both houses of Congress. There's the Safe Banking Act of 2021 that has passed the House, but again, it hasn't gained the momentum in the Senate yet. So we haven't yet seen both houses of Congress come together and get a strong push behind a federal legalization bill that can really get us to the precipice of seeing cannabis being legalized. And I think that is what's really, to large part, and what we talk about in the report is really limiting the market and limiting the interaction that some insurance carriers would really like to be able to come into the marketplace with and really take advantage of a multi-billion-dollar industry.
So, David, how has that affected the insurance industry?
Like I said, we've really seen the federal status limit the opportunities that are there. We've seen some carriers providing insurance coverage, but again, to the extent that the insurance market really wants to dive in and generate and develop products overall, the federal illegal status of cannabis has really limited a lot of carriers, particularly on the admitted side, from coming to the market and really opening it up to the extent that it really could be. And I think that's what we're waiting for, and what would be the game changer. Federal legislation that really does actually gain momentum and passes both houses of Congress would really be the game changer for this marketplace. Right now, there are many that consider the cannabis industry, a multi-billion-dollar industry that really doesn't have a true risk management solution that is put together and put in place for that industry.
Chris, do we know who's been the main provider of coverage?
Hi, John. Thank you. So far, it's been largely surplus lines carriers. There have been a few captive insurers popping up, and we've seen a limited number of admitted carriers, limited to the state of California.
How would you characterize the growth potential for the cannabis industry, Chris, and the prospects for insurers?
It's really wide open. I think there's a lot of potential out there. Like David said, this is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. Projections are showing this to be maybe around $40 billion a year by the middle of the decade. That's a whole supply chain involved. That's growing the product, distributing it, insuring it on premises. So every aspect of insurance would somehow be involved here. You look at even a state like New Jersey, where you're allowed to keep it 6 plants on your own personal property. So does that even open up the possibility for homeowners coverage to include cannabis? A lot of opportunity.
Thanks, Chris. David?
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
That was Christopher Graham and David Blades. You can find the full report online at ambest.com. For AM Best TV, I'm John Weber.